right, we're back for Rehashables, episode 5. Ready to roll, ready to dominate. It's December. Are you ready to go, pal?
Yeah, ending the year strong. Some final month of the year. Got some good stuff this past month. Some stuff coming up. We haven't talked too much about what we've been watching this last month, so I'm anxious to hear kind of more what's on your list and what you've thought.
Yeah, it'll be a fun conversation. I think we have some things that I think a lot of the things I have watched are things that you have watched, and I'm always interested to see what you've listened to. So it'll be a fun conversation. I'm actually interested to see how December goes. December's so crazy. Christmas stuff yesterday, personal stuff, Christmas party tomorrow, like all kinds of Christmas things. I think my ability to watch stuff will be a little bit limited, but I'm sure I can sneak a few things. There are a few things I'm excited about that we can chat about on the backside too. So why don't you get started, pal? What did you watch? Tell me something good. What's your favorite thing?
So my favorite thing that I watched this last month was Loki season 2. I don't. Did you end up? You watched that, right?
I finished it, man. It was on my list. I freaking loved it, actually. I really liked season 1.
Yep.
And I wasn't that hyped for season 2 for whatever reason. Like Loki season 1 is probably my favorite MCU show or Disney Plus show. But the way things had been going for the MCU and Disney Plus, like I just wasn't excited about it. Like it took me, I think 4 weeks, maybe 3 weeks before I finally started watching it. And then I kind of binged it to the point that it finished. But you really liked it?
Oh, yeah, but to your point, it's insane. You and I mean, we've talked about this before, like, there were no bigger MCU guys than, like, you and me. Even since the start of Disney Plus, the Disney Plus shows, we were all in with, like, WandaVision and Captain America and Winter Soldier, or Winter Falcon and Winter Soldier, and then Loki season 1, and it started off really good, but then somewhere along the line, I think when things started coming out and people were viewing it, they started getting very negative reviews. Yeah. It was such a turnoff, and it became so complicated that I haven't watched a lot of stuff that they put out recently. I haven't watched Ant-Man. We were late to Guardians. Any of their Disney Plus shows, the Marvels, She-Hulk, none of it was really appealing to me. And then Loki came out, and I'm like, I think I want to watch it, but then start getting amazing reviews. And then 10 minutes into it, with Tom Hiddleston and Owen Wilson and their chemistry, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. I love the show. I love the concept. And those two are just such a great chemistry that I was kind of like all in.
So Tom Hiddleston's the man, right? Like, how is he not a bigger star than what he is?
Great question. A few years ago, he had his name kind of thrown in, maybe possibly with like the James Bond stuff when he was like at peak stuff. He dated T Swift for a while.
Had a cup of coffee with T Swift. Yeah.
Had a cup of coffee with Taylor Swift. And then he's been in like a couple other things, but Loki's kind of his just defining role. And what was so good about this show is the art. If you would have talked about like Loki, the guy from the first Thor movie, which was like 12 years ago or whatever, when it came out, and have his whole arc be told and him be, as of now, honestly, probably one of the top 3 MCU characters there are, I would have been shocked. But they did an amazing job with his character, and the acting was incredible. It was a great job by Disney Plus and by Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah, great redemption arc for him. So I agree with you about him being a top 3 MCU character.
Right now.
Who's the top 3, though? I think of Robert Downey Jr. as...
Oh, yeah, but it's like, who's carrying it still? You know what I mean? Like, Chris Evans gone. So,
Yeah, so like if you were like, okay, what are the... Oof, man, it is tough. Like, what's the big 3 of MCU overall? It's probably Robert Downey Jr., Iron Man, Chris Evans, Captain America, and then Chris Hemsworth, Thor. But like, maybe Loki's a 3B along with Thor, but he's definitely in that conversation.
Well, it's because you mentioned it because the MCU's first part post Endgame is having people carry the torch. Because Iron Man's gone, Captain America's gone, Spider-Man. At No Way Home, I love Spider-Man. I love Tom Holland as Spider-Man, but like the way they kind of ended it was like, his recent comments, like he might be done. And Loki, though, this had some finality to Loki's character too in this one. So anyway, he was great, but their best decision, I felt like with this show, was bringing Owen Wilson on.
He's the man.
He's the same guy. He's literally Owen Wilson in everything he's done.
He is like one of those guys.
You could tell me that character's Mobius is from the same universe as Wedding Crashers, and I believe it's like literally the same character in all movies, but it's a great damn character.
He's awesome. Owen Wilson seems like a guy That'd be a great hang. Like, just a fun time. Cool dude.
Yeah. So that's it. And now getting into like the season as a whole, like, so what did you think of the season? Because I loved it, but it was complicated. It was like a lot of moving pieces.
Yeah. It was a lot different than the first season. Like, it was very focused on, what is it, the TVA?
Mm-hmm.
Very focused on that, like very locked into like the time stuff. And I think people have a hard time with any storyline and anything that has to do with like time, bouncing back and forth in time, multiverses, things like that. I love that stuff. So for me, it's like, you know, give me an IV into my veins about that sort of stuff. But like, I could see as I'm watching it that it's probably a lot for just like an average person that's scrolling through Disney Plus and just says like, hey, I want to watch Loki because I like MCU stuff.
But I'm glad they didn't like dumb it down. They really made it simple. You know, their big addition this year, Short Round, my Academy Award winning Ki-Hu Kwan or whatever, he was an awesome addition, I thought, this year. And I love seeing that guy do well because Short Round and Temple of Doom is like one of my favorite characters.
He was a great addition to the cast. He was a perfectly cast actor for the role that he played in the show. Just like a very smart guy, but like just a little weird and quirky. He's great. Great addition.
So do you think, because this is my thing while watching this, obviously everything with Kang, a lot of stuff, they put all their chips into the Kang basket. MCU did, post Thanos to see, because Thanos was such a great bad guy, they put all their chips in here. But Jonathan Majors, he's going through some major issues. Do you think they pivoted the storytelling? Do you think this was their vision all along? Or do you still think Kang's going to play a role? Or what did you think about how it ended?
I was obviously thinking the exact same thing, but also because I've read a lot about everything going on with him leading up to where they are now, and made me wonder, if I didn't know everything that was going on with him, I would think that there's still plenty of door open for him to have a role in the MCU. I could also see how they could potentially never show him again on screen. But I do think it's up in the air. Do you think it's definitive as to what's going on with him?
No, I mean, I guess because I believe it or not, again, we still talked about dropping the ball with MCU stuff. I've not seen Ant-Man in Quantumania, which he was like the main bad guy in and really advanced his story, but also came out before all of his legal troubles. But I guess how that ended was very much open, and a bunch of different Kangs from the multiverse were coming together. But with Loki kind of taking over the timelines and him sitting on that throne and finally kind of having that purpose, I almost felt like, were they pushing Kang? Was it a way out? Was it a way for them to pivot? And I don't know if that was their plan, but I definitely see a path that they can pivot, move away from Kang, and get another storyline going.
Well, Jonathan Majors had a big role in the season as Victor Timely, but not as big of a role as Kang. Kang was in that last episode and he had a good scene, but like, if that was the end of Kang, I think it was a little bit of a letdown for me because of what I had heard about that character and what the potential there is for him. So we'll see. I bet you we never see him again, if I had to guess. Although there is a Avengers movie, I think it's the Kang Dynasty, maybe is what it's called, and they did just attach a writer to that movie. So I mean, then that kind of implies that they are going to move forward with it. But I don't know, man. Seems like that guy's
replaced the writer, right? I think there was another writer on it, and they replaced it with a new guy.
Yeah, but just the fact that they are attaching a new writer to it, it would be one thing if, the writer left the Kang Dynasty and then it just kind of disappears and you never really hear anything again. For them to come out and be like, we have a new writer for that movie. Sounds like it's moving forward. I don't know, man. Everyone loves a redemption story. I actually do not know the details of what he did. Kind of numb to it, unfortunately, just because it seems like there's so many stories like this all the time where, an actor, I don't know if it's a sexual assault or beating up a girlfriend or beating up someone. It's just like freaking happens all the time, unfortunately. So I just kind of tune out to it. But I do know that there was something that happened with him, and I don't know if he's redeemable or not.
Yeah, so we'll see what ends up happening. But real quick, kind of putting a bow on this, what was your interpretation of the end? Because some people might not, and I even too had to read stuff. Like, what was your interpretation of the ending of the season?
So Loki is basically controlling all the timelines at this point.
Yeah, I mean, he basically kind of had to. I felt like through the last season, specifically the last episode, he was realizing that how he had some ability to control time and was focusing on controlling time. And at the end, he realized the only way to make basically the TVA timeline from exploding was he had to sacrifice himself. And in order to do that, he had to go out and was controlling all the timelines and sitting in this throne and kind of being almost a Kang character.
So what is that? Like, do you ever think, or am I a weirdo? Like, okay, so he's just like sitting on a throne, like with his hands like this, just holding these green things, and that's represent the timeline. Like, what about having some breakfast? What about going to the bathroom? Like, what are you doing? What's going on?
It's like that guy at the end of Severance season 1. Him just putting holding the two things together only times a million. Yeah, so is he a different being now? Is he even like Loki? It's definitely a strange thing because it ended, with Owen Wilson's character kind of looking at his timeline with his kids and kind of reminiscing all that kind of stuff. And Loki was definitely watching that. So just interesting. And I can't imagine we're not seeing Loki again somehow.
I very much think the door is open for Loki. And I haven't heard that he's had enough of it yet. So good redemption. He's like on the upswing right now. I think he could be potentially a hero in some of the future movies. I hope so. I mean, Thor is not done. Chris Hemsworth is not done with Thor. So there is some potential closure to that relationship too. And I hope they keep it going, man. Like I said, I could use more Tom Hiddleston. They should cast him as James Bond. I would right now if I had any control over it. He's a freaking awesome actor. He's dynamic on screen. So very happy with the season.
You notice how many hair flips do you think he does? You notice that? The guy literally does this in every single scene. I think it's like his signature move. It's just hilarious.
He has great hair. There's no doubt about it.
Hair. Phenomenal hair. So best hair in the multiverse. No question about it.
The last thing I want to say, that was only 6 episodes, that show.
Yes.
So not a big commitment. So if you're thinking about watching it, we obviously like it. Give it a shot. 6 episodes, easy watch.
And you do have to have season 1, though. I do think you have to watch season 1.
Of course.
Right. I mean, yes, it's not a standalone. Yes, it's been a few years. I need a little refresher about what kind of...
And honestly, like, I don't know if anyone does this except for me and maybe you. Like, this is a great show to listen to podcasts about, watch YouTube videos about. Like, there's some great content out there, people breaking things down and giving their interpretation. And that's, like, kind of the thing that I like about TV shows in general, where, like, you can think about them beyond just actually watching the show. Like, what does that mean? And a lot of times these people, when they're making these shows, they're hiding things in there, and there's callbacks to previous episodes or callbacks to other things. For me, that makes TV viewing worth it. I mean, if I wanted something that didn't include that, I would watch freaking CSI Miami or something like that. And it's just like very straightforward, and you just kind of move on from it. Like, that's what makes these shows kind of fun for me, is that I can consume things outside of the show. So
it goes back to Our Lost Days, which was the first show I felt like that we did where like it just enhanced the viewing experience so much to watch it. Let's do a recap pod, watch a video on YouTube.
A speculation pod. Yeah, dude. There's no doubt that was a great show. Number 1 show in my life, probably ever. But there's no doubt it is because of all the stuff outside of the actual show that I read or listened to along with it. So I don't know, man. We have some recommendations for those sort of things. So hit me up. I'm happy to share some websites, some YouTube channels, all that fun stuff. So, okay, ready for my next one?
Yep.
Next one is not a new movie. Came out last year. At least I think it came out last year, and it's The Batman with Robert Pattinson. Finally watched it. I don't know why I watched it. I was just looking for something to watch, and I had not watched it up until this point because it's a long movie. It's like 3 hours long. And I was like, when am I going to watch a 3-hour movie? And I like Batman just as much as the next guy. And for whatever reason, I'm like, you know what? I'm finally watching this. I'm in the right mood for it. And I absolutely loved it. I thought it was incredible.
I'm so happy to hear that. I saw that. I did see this in the theater. I loved this movie. I love Robert Pattinson's version of Bruce Wayne and Batman. The music in this film, again, like the soundtrack was so good. I remember just like listening to the soundtrack, walking around town like a weirdo afterwards, and just wanted to serve vengeance. And stuff that was going on.
Yeah. I mean, like only certain people refer to him as Batman. I think he refers to himself as Vengeance in this movie. It's like an earlier version of Batman. Love everything they did with it, man. I really do. Before I get to the movie, I want to say, you're talking about walking around listening to the freaking soundtrack. I'm walking around listening to the trailer. I don't know if you remember the trailer, but like it has that Nirvana song in it and the cuts. My favorite movie trailer that I've ever seen. I don't know why. Like, I don't obsess over movie trailers. I'm not obsessing over this one, but like I have listened to it more than any other movie trailer times a million, because I think that the music is that good and the cuts are that good. So anyways, check out that trailer. But this movie reminded me of Seven. I don't know, and maybe that's kind of why I liked it so much.
Sure.
They have the Riddler as kind of this like serial killer type guy, and it's kind of funny when you think of this version of the Riddler versus like the Jim Carrey, and like what the Riddler was back with the what's his name, you know, the Adam West Batman, which we used to watch all those as a kid. It was great, but like this Riddler is a freaking scary dude. You know, he's a messed up, crazy dude. Awesome portrayal. Again, it was like watching Seven combined with Batman, and you know what's he going to do next, and all the mystery that is involved in that. I thought they did a great job with the Riddler choice.
All of the characters, and you're 100% right, because people go, I mean, all these superhero movies, the villains kind of take the cake. You know what I mean? It's like, because Batman has such good villains, it's so they can't keep doing the Joker. You know what I mean? They can't keep doing this stuff, so they went the Riddler, and then also an side B villain was Colin Farrell's Penguin, which was such a gritty, realistic. It wasn't, like you said, Tim Burton's Batman back in the day. This is like very like real life people, murder, mystery kind of stuff. Very, very grounded version of Batman, which was awesome.
You could make this movie and not have Batman in it, and it still be like a pretty freaking cool movie. I mean, obviously there's some aspects of the fact that there's Batman involved that makes it a certain way, but like, you know, if you just made this be like some vigilante guy for Batman that didn't necessarily dress as a bat, it would be an awesome movie on its own because the other villains and everyone else is so realistic.
They're kind of doing that.
Yeah.
Kind of with the Penguin show. Yeah. It's going to be coming to HBO next year with Colin Farrell. So it's just a cool universe that they created. But you could not have said it any better with saying this was Seven. You know, Seven mixed with Batman. And if you liked Seven, which is David Fincher, incredible all-time movie. It's just so good. And the whole cast, I mean, it's Jeffrey Wright, who played Commissioner Gordon, who did great. Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman was awesome. Jeremy Irons as the butler. What's his name?
Albert? The guy that played Gollum.
In Circus. He was, you know, he was. It was incredible. It wasn't Jeremy Irons was Ben Affleck's butler. But Andy Serkis,
you're making me question everything you'd say about this movie. So just
listen. That Batman movie just came out like 3 years ago, so it shows that when this one came out, like how are they doing another Bat? I mean, there's literally was still like Ben Affleck was still Batman in the Flash movie that just came out. Yep. So it was kind of confusing as to what universe it was. But this Matt Reeves universe that he created was great. Robert Pattinson, man, is such a good actor. You know.
Totally. And I want to get back to the Robert Pattinson thing in a second. I want to mention the Penguin. Because you would never know that was Colin Farrell. That was some just like great prosthetics. It makes me wonder why they even cast him. Obviously, he's a good actor. So that's obviously why they cast him. But like, not because he looks like the Penguin, dude. And when you look at the way he looks on the screen, like, why not cast a guy that like looks like what you're trying to do? Not like this good looking guy with this freaking prosthetic mask, but I thought they did a great job with that character.
Unrecognizable. And it's like a side villain character, but moves the story along perfectly with that, and just did a great job with that.
Robert Pattinson is Batman. So Batman's tough. There's obviously great character, but like it's tough to realistically think that you could have a Bruce Wayne person in the world and have them be a Batman and not have people realize it. Like for me, it's always going to be tough to wrap my head around the voice that the Batman would have versus like what they really are. You know, like, I just don't know that there's a good way to do it. Like he can't just talk like Bruce Wayne when he's as Batman, because then it's just too obvious. So it takes me a little bit out of it when I see that. But I did like Bruce Wayne's like recluse type version of Bruce Wayne. Also kind of cool that his manor or whatever in the Batcave was in the middle of the city. I thought that was different than, I don't know if it was like in a skyscraper. So I thought that was like a little bit different than what you see as opposed to like this manor out on the hillside and you're driving in the woods to get to the Batcave and all this stuff. It was like a different version of a Batcave like in the city.
They needed to do something different. They needed to change it up. It couldn't be, Christian Bale's, kind of playboy Batman. They made him, like you said, a recluse is a perfect word, and he would come back at nighttime and he'd have to get taken care of and he would sleep all day and then go out at nighttime. But remember when people announced that it was going to be him?
What'd they think?
as Batman.
Remind
People
me.
were surprised.
He was great. I look forward to them doing many movies with him as Batman. I think he's a great Batman. Whether or not he's like the best one is yet to be told. I did a little poll on Instagram. People answered it. I think people gave too much credit to Michael Keaton. I think it was more a nostalgia thing than anything. I mean, yeah, he was a fine Batman, but like it's not like again, he was a fine Batman. But I actually think like, and this might be my nostalgia, is I thought Christian Bale was a great Batman. Like he looked like a good Bruce Wayne, and he looked like a good Batman, and he was a great choice for that role. So he's the benchmark.
There's no question. But this one, with you look at the Michael Keaton ones, again, the fighting scenes are just hilarious. This one, I mean, was so damn physical. Just that opening scene. Remember the opening scene in the subway and all those guys versus skeletons, the punching? And that was in the trailer. You know what I mean? Like the sound mixing and like, this is it's rated R, right? I'm pretty sure the movie was rated R. Was it, or PG-13?
Gotta be, yeah.
Definitely the most violent.
So love that movie. Highly recommend it. I do want to talk about Gotham for one sec.
Worst place to live.
I was gonna say, Gotham, like, why would you live there? Place freaking sucks.
It's always raining. It's never sunny at all. Literally every cop is corrupt. Maybe there's like a good food scene or like a nightlife. I have no idea.
Restaurant scene in Gotham.
Great, like a lot of foodies like live there. So like that. There's not one thing that is appealing about living in Gotham.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Place is the freaking worst. Getting back to Seven for a second, I don't know if I heard like a David Fincher interview or something. It was, I think they made a concerted effort to always make it raining when they were outside or nighttime. And like that's must be a concerted effort in this movie. It is always raining and dark. There's never like a nice sunny day. I think maybe the last scene, like you start seeing some sun and it looks like it's going to be a decent day out. But like, man, that place, weather sucks there. It's just a freaking nightmare of a place to live. Get the hell out of Gotham.
The rate must be through the roof in Gotham. The therapists are doing amazing. But one thing I do want to mention, though, because I thought this scene was incredible, was the final fight scene at the arena with the music and when Batman kind of dropped in, the music was hitting. I thought that was because it dragged on a little. There was a little bit
3 hours long, for sure.
3 hour movie. At last, like probably could have cut it by 20 minutes. But that fight scene, man, was freaking awesome. I thought it was so well done.
Yeah, great scene, dude. So add it to your list. If you're still listening at this point, add it to the list.
Yes, correct. I know. We're cruising right along, 2 in right now at this. So I'll kind of.
Right, what do you got?
So next, I'm going to stay on David Fincher because we talked about him a little bit. I watched David Fincher's new movie with Michael Fassbender on Netflix called The Killer.
Oh, nice. I want to watch that.
It got a lot of hype getting into it because Fincher, we talked about, guy did Seven, did Social Network, did Gone Girl. He's made some of the most, some of the best movies in the last 25 years. So when this one came out and Fassbender, who's the lead guy in it, always enjoyed everything Fassbender was in. I thought it was really good. I don't think it was great. I thought the opening 30 minutes were amazing and really got you into it, and then it kind of dragged. So I wouldn't say I recommend it to everybody, but if you are a Fincher fan and a Michael Fassbender fan, it was a great assassin kind of movie where he has to kill some people, and it's well done. It was less than 2 hours, nothing a huge commitment. It was just a good movie. So,
who else is in it besides Fassbender?
Tilda Swinton is the only other person that you would possibly recognize. And I don't even know if you know who Tilda Swinton is. So
she has a very distinct look.
She does. She looks, there's a picture of her and David Bowie, which I don't know if they were siblings or not, but they look very similar. Her and David Bowie,
brother sister.
They could be brothers. They look a lot alike. But most of the movie is Michael Fassbender narrating it. You don't know who his name is. The first 30 minutes are him kind of doing this assassination, and it takes off from there. So I don't think I want to spend a ton of time on it, but if you're into like a good, fast-paced David Fincher kind of movie, The Killer on Netflix is worth a watch. So.
I heard just okay things about it. Kind of like what you were saying. So like the reviews or the things that I had seen on maybe Twitter or whatever aren't that it's like a A+ movie or a must-see. It's just kind of like what you said. So maybe get to it at some point. Like Fassbender as much as the next guy, but like I'm not like this crazy Fassbender fan. So
it's Fincher's. You know what I mean? Like it's like Seven, Gone Girl, Zodiac, Social Network, Fight Club, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. The guy's resume is ridiculous. So when he makes a movie, people always kind of they watch. So That's all the time I really want to take on the killer.
Keep it in mind. Okay. Next one for me, I only have two more, and they're both fairly similar, but I want to start with this one. And it's the Sly documentary on Netflix.
Yeah.
You watch this?
No, I've not watched this one. I watched the Arnold one, but I know you said you watched the Sly one. And
I watched the Sly one, and I watched it because it was only like, I think it was a couple hours, nothing super long. It was interesting. I didn't love it as much as the next thing that I'll talk about, but it's worth checking out if you like Sly. I mean, for us, growing up, it's like Sly and Arnold were the guys. Rocky IV it's probably the movie I've watched most in my life. I would have to guess. I mean, it's probably a couple that are close, but Rocky IV is definitely that like top 3 most watched movie. Loved Sly. This was a very interesting. I learned some things about Sly that I didn't know before, and I just kind of leave it at that. Relationship with his dad was really interesting to me, just like how he was as a student and as a kid growing up. You know, you might not realize that like he's from New York. You know, like I guess I didn't realize that's where he's from. So you get a lot of context to his life. I thought it could have been a little bit more compelling, but the guy's definitely had a freaking interesting life, man. He's old. He's old and he freaking looks good. He's jacked. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say he looks good because he looks like he's had some work done on him over the years.
Little stiff.
So it's like weird, like those Hollywood guys that age and then they look a little bit not like what they really should look like. But he's in freaking good shape, man. He's a big dude.
But you said growing up with him, him and Arnold were the guys. Like we watched, I mean, minus all the Rocky films, which I absolutely loved and were my favorite things watching up. I loved, Cliffhanger was also a movie that was phenomenal. Obviously, Rambo, watched that, in the background.
I have never watched Rambo.
First Blood, the first one?
No, none of them.
Only one, the first one.
So after the Sly doc, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to watch Rambo. It's going to be one of my things for our podcast. And I actually think I will make it one of our things before long. But like, do you know that there is no place streaming Rambo for free? Like I would have, and I'll probably just spend the money, which is fine. I think you can buy all 5 of them for $25. So maybe I'll just pull the trigger on it. But I was kind of just hoping that I could get the first one on Amazon Prime or something, but none of the Rambo movies show up on any streaming services for free. And I feel like that's the type of movie that would be
absolutely
on.
And it's probably less than an hour and a half, hour 45 minutes, So and then he's kind of had in the 2010s, he had the resurgence with Rocky Balboa, which I really loved. And then he was nominated for a freaking Oscar for Creed, and did incredible with Creed and that character and stuff too. So that's awesome. I'm glad you watched it.
Yeah, he has a role in Guardians of the Galaxy, which is cool. So he's in the MCU on a kind of a fringe basis. And he had Expendable 4 come out not that long ago. So he's still doing stuff. I would like to see him be in another Creed movie, though. Just kind of close the loop once and for all. I don't know any reason why he wasn't in Creed 3. I'm sure there was more to it. But it'd be nice to see him kind of just wrap things up one last time. If they can do it well.
He had some negative stuff to say about like the Creed universe and the direction that it's kind of going. Because I think they're making like a Dracula movie now and all that kind of stuff too. But guy's the man, Rocky IV, like you said, that was peak for us, and done.
And in the Cold War, man.
And then the Cold War again. But he's like a rag to riches story. You know what I mean? He bet with Rocky 1, he bet on himself and other people wanted to buy the movie from him, right? And cast somebody else as Rocky, and he said no, and then he won Academy Awards.
They talk about that. Obviously, Rocky 1 is a pivot point in his life where things could have went one of two directions, and it went the good way for him. And he obviously had the career that he's had and the life that he had. He talks a lot about family and stuff in it too. And if you're a Sly fan, it's worth checking out.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you for bringing that one up. Glad you watched that.
Yes.
All right. I got a few more things here. I think we talked about it last month, and I got a chance to watch it on Netflix, was Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse. So,
nice, dude.
I love this kind of character. And this is obviously a sequel movie. It's an animated movie, and some people that immediately turns people off. I think what they've done with this character, Miles Morales, as Spider-Man, it's a completely different take on all of the other Spider-Man stuff that you've seen. It's a unique concept with a great cast, and goddamn, I love these movies. I think this is probably my favorite thing that I've watched this month. The first one was so good, and there was a scene we talk about called a Leap of Faith scene with the music and how the ending was animated that I watch frequently. It's one of my channels I love to like rewatch movie scenes on. And this one had a similar section of that, but it's a good a really, really, really good story. And if you like Spider-Man, I could not recommend this one enough.
First one is Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse, right?
Correct. Yep. And
And
now
then,
it's across the Spider. Yeah. So it's kind of like Loki. It's a lot of multiverse kind of stuff. And there's a bunch of different Spider-Mans. Every universe has a Spider-Man. And basically they all kind of come together and certain things happen. It's still multiverse stuff, but it makes sense. And Miles Morales is just a good take on Spider-Man.
is it better than the first one?
I still think the first one is slightly better because first one had one of my favorite MCU villains, Kingpin. I think Kingpin is just an incredible MCU villain. He was the main guy in the first one. The first one was incredible.
Yeah, it was really good.
One of my favorite superhero movies I think I've ever watched. I love that movie. This one I wouldn't say is as good. It's a little bit below it, but still really, really
The
strong.
fact that it's close speaks highly enough about it. So it's worth checking out. I've tried to get the kids to watch it. Like, hey guys, let's give the Spider-Man movie a chance, just because obviously I would like to watch it at some point. And it's hard for me to find the time sometimes, but no interest by them. But that is top of the list for me. So maybe I'll make a point to watch it next week and we kind of dig into some of the stuff.
That animated movie, it's really not a kid. You know what I mean? Like, yeah there are but it's people definitely don't watch this movie because they think it's a cartoon and it's for kids, but it's definitely not. And it's incredible storytelling. And this is a part one of a sequel. It ends on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
And again, great cast in this. Haley Steinfeld's in it a lot, who's in the MC universe, but Oscar Isaac, Jason Schwartzman, Jake Johnson, who's awesome from New Girl. Yep. It's a really good movie and some good laughs. So
I think saying it's a cartoon undersells a little bit. Like, that animation in this is
insane.
Kind of unlike any other cartoon that you really would have ever seen. It's pretty unique. And then besides that, the music was great in the first one. I assume the music was great in this one.
I think it won an Academy Award for Best Original Song. Incredible soundtrack for this.
Yeah, it's on the top of the list for me. So
that's my next one.
I'll probably watch that before too long. So nice, thanks for mentioning. I'm glad you watched it. Bummed that you beat me to it. I wish I would have lined it up with you, but maybe we can dig into some of this more spoilery stuff next time.
Yep.
All right, last one for me. If I watched Sly, I had to watch Arnold. And I know you're watching Arnold right now, but
I finished it.
Oh, you did finish it?
I watched Arnold a couple months ago.
Okay, so you've seen it. I freaking absolutely loved it. Like, I liked Sly, and honestly, maybe I would be higher on Sly if I hadn't seen Arnold. And it's honestly not fair to compare them, kind of, because Sly has his 1 hour and a half, 2 hour documentary, and there's basically 3 of those for Arnold that breaks it down into 3 parts of his career. First part's the bodybuilding part. Second part is the actor, movie star, action hero part. And then the third one is the politician part. And I thought each one of the 3 were incredibly well done. And dude, Arnold's one of a kind, man. Like, I don't know. Like, I've always loved Arnold, but like, this just kind of like put him up on a pedestal for me. Like, I don't know anyone that has ever done quite what he has done, being a guy that comes from Austria. English is a second language. Obviously, he had this physique to be this amazing bodybuilder, but like, he took that and found his way to the United States, and he is a version of the American dream, like an extreme version of the American dream, where he went from rags to riches to an all-time bodybuilder, to an all-time action hero, to a freaking governor of California. And if he was born in the United States, honestly, he'd probably be president of the United States.
100%.
Like, that's what I thought watching him. Like, they should change the rules for him, because like, he's good, man. What did you think?
So which one did you watch first?
Well, I watched it in order. The bodybuilder. Like,
No, sorry. Arnold or Sly?
Sly.
Okay, because I heard it too. The Arnold one was so good, and how they did it in the 3 parts. Stuff I didn't know about him growing up in Austria with his dad, and his dad being in the war, and they were in this terrible lifestyle. Arnold in the late 80s and 90s, there was no. You were talking about Sly. Arnold was a bigger star than Sly. I mean, the movies that he was coming out with, because he was an action star, but he was funny. I loved watching it. I'm glad you got a chance to watch it. But I thought the best one was the 3rd episode about him, the political stuff. So.
I think it's the one I knew least about. And honestly, trust me, dude, I did not know a lot about his bodybuilding career, but I knew even less about his politician career. Like, just what a crazy thing to think you're the biggest movie star in the world, and then you're going to run for governor and win twice. Yes, was it a special election? Yes, would he have maybe not made it out of the primary to be the actual candidate? Maybe, but like it happened the way it happened, and he was governor for a long time, and it seemed like he had a different approach to government, and it was a fairly bipartisan approach, and finding ways to work together. And I thought it was a good message for people to see. That's maybe how politics can work.
Absolutely. It was so, because they're obviously married to Maria Shriver, coming from the biggest Democratic family in the country, and then he runs as a Republican. It was really, really, really well done. And now it's interesting to see his lifestyle now, because the guy just like lives at his home with his like donkeys and smokes his cigars and lives his life. I
felt bad for him a little bit. I don't know if that was what the intention was, but through this all, he lost his family. He had a kid with the maid, and Maria Shriver left him. And, they talk about that other kid in the doc, and they show some of his kids. And, I don't know how he feels about it, but like it was kind of sad to just see him seem like, yes, he's had all these accomplishments. Now he's a very old man. He looks older than Sly does at this point, and he might be a little bit older. Like he's aged more, and he is in this very nice place out in the mountains, got his, like you said, donkeys, but he seemed like by himself, and he talks about his family and stuff. So that part's a bummer, but what a freaking life that guy's lived.
Absolutely. And you mentioned him last time, his son, Patrick Schwarzenegger, and the boy spinoff, Gen V, who's doing a great job. You didn't see him too much in the doc, but yeah, it's good to
have a picture of him, I think. I did not realize, so getting back to our episode from last week, Gen V, one of the main characters is Arnold's son. And you wouldn't think that looking at it. Like, he does probably look a little bit more like Maria Shriver.
So, Arnold's other kid with, there's no...
You can't deny that that's Arnold's son when you see it. Like, probably when he was like 4 years old, you were like, something's not right here. And the fact that it even took as long as it did for them to find out that Arnold had a kid with the maid, like, that kid is definitely Arnold's kid. So, but when I think of the things that I watched this month, like, I do think Loki is probably my favorite. God damn, it is tough because I really did like that.
Between this and Arnold? Between that and Arnold?
I guess I generally like things like Batman and Loki more. Like, that is my wheelhouse. Mm-hmm. But the fact that I would even think about putting Arnold above it just shows you how good Arnold is. If you're in the mood to watch a doc about a guy that you've had some relationship with in your life, if you're my age, whether or not you were an Arnold person or into his movies, like, who Arnold Schwarzenegger is. You watch this doc, you'll have a totally different view of him, and you'll be amazed at what he has accomplished in these 3 parts of his life. Again, pure American dream. I don't know that there's been someone that's been more accomplished in 3 different things than he has.
I love it, man. I'm so happy you watched it. Great stuff.
So what else you got? Last one.
I have 3 more, actually, real quick. Two is like kind of I'll go through real quick. 2 of them are documentaries on Netflix, and I freaking love these, and that's why I want to make sure I mentioned it. And I don't even know if you've heard of them. First one is called the Volcano Rescue from Whakaari. Okay, have you even heard about this?
No.
Okay. So what this was in New Zealand. There's this little island off of New Zealand where a volcano is called Whakaari. Okay, it's a tourist attraction. It's about an hour-and-a-half boat ride to this volcano, an active volcano, and they'd go to it and they'd walk around for a little bit and then they'd come back. Well, this story was back in 2015. While a group of tourists were there, the volcano erupted, like while they were on the island. They didn't know it was happening, and the story's insane. And you like think like, okay, a volcano erupt. Like, how do you not know a volcano is going to erupt, or if it erupts, like lava is going to come in? You don't even know what a volcano eruption looks like. It was goddamn petrifying. Like, just
was it a lot of found footage type stuff, cell phone video stuff, or is
it? There were a lot of cell phone videos and interviews with the survivors, and like the process of getting these people off the island and the pain they were in. I don't want to like give anything away, but it is a harrowing story. Like, I did not know about this that had happened. I thought it was just an incredible story of survival and really, really, really well done. So were you browsing and something about it caught your eye, or did you hear about it someplace? I was browsing, and my next documentary we'll talk about in a second, something kind of similar, and I thought that was so good. It just kind of, I watched the trailer to this, and I'm like, oh, this is a good hour-and-a-half watch. It just looks interesting, and I watched it, was blown away by it. So
wow, love it, dude.
That was
not
great.
On my radar at all.
So my other one, crushing it this month, absolutely crushing it this month with content. The other one is called Aftershock, Everest and the Nepal earthquake. A similar kind of like, natural, disaster kind of situation, but there's a huge earthquake that happened in Nepal back in 2015 as well. I think, okay, so the volcano was a little bit later, but back in 2015, it follows three groups of people. This terrible earthquake that happens while people are climbing Everest, people in the city of Kathmandu, and this other little village in Nepal. And it follows these three things. And this, again, story of survival and how bad this earthquake was just it was a great, very fascinating documentary. So,
love it, dude. Same thing as this one, browsing, and you just saw it?
No, this was recommended to us. It was a 3-episode thing. And I love to always get a documentary on it. You got 2 this month. I like to watch the documentary series and stuff, just pretty fascinating topics. So this was a really good one that I enjoyed.
My 2 are on Netflix. These 2 are on Netflix.
Yeah.
Netflix is the place to go for docs, man.
They're crushing it right now because they have a lot of good sports documentaries on there, which we've talked about in the past. And just pop out of nowhere, So
that's the best part about it.
Yeah.
It's like you just there's a couple things I want to mention before we go that are coming up. You don't even realize these things are coming up, and then you hear something that's like, oh yeah, it's going to be on Netflix in 2 weeks or 2 days.
Yeah.
It's great.
So those 2, that's kind of a twofer with one thing. And then the last thing I watched last night, I don't know, it's just because I've seen it from everywhere on Twitter right now. It's available to rent and buy on Apple. Have you heard of the movie The Holdovers at all? Do you know anything about this? The Holdovers.
Never heard of it.
So it's Paul Giamatti, who is awesome. I'm sure you know I've seen who Paul Giamatti is. And this other actor, you don't know who he is. His name's Dominic Sessa, who was amazing. Essentially, it takes place in this boarding school we think it's Vermont. They don't really say it. But a lot of people leave for Christmas break. It is, I wouldn't consider it a Christmas movie, but it takes place during Christmas time. Mm-hmm. Like, there's no, Santa Claus and the spirit of Christmas, but it takes place over Christmas time. And the reason I watch this is because I've seen it everywhere. Our Barstool guys have been tweeting about it a ton. It's got a 96% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Other people on Instagram have been sharing it and saying you got to watch it. So Heather and I watched it last night, and about a 2-hour movie about this boarding school that shuts down for Christmas, but this kid can't go home with his family for certain reasons, so he stays with this very grumpy professor, Paul Giamatti, and their relationship kind of blossoms. It's a very simple story, and I loved it. So just wanted to really get that out there. The Holdovers, to put it on people's radar.
Awesome. I'll have to check it out. That's cool. So that's everything for the month.
That's everything for the month, and yeah, that's all.
So solid month. Especially for you. You were doing some work this month. Holy cow. In summary, I watched the Loki, Batman, Sly and Arnold. You watched also Loki, Spiderman Across the Spiderverse. What's the one with Fassbender called?
The Killer.
The Killer. Then Volcano Rescue from Whakaari.
Whakaari. Yep.
Whakaari. That was close. Aftershock and
Holdovers.
Yeah, that was close. A little bit of mom coming out in me there where I just kind of throw it out there and I'm way off, but it's all good.
And then that was it. That was a good month. There's actually a few other things too. So really was feeling it this month.
Holy. Anything in particular you're looking forward to watching coming up that you might sneak in for our next podcast?
Definitely, I watched season 1 of Monarch, the Godzilla Apple.
We'll watch that. That's on the radar. I started that too.
That is made for us, with Kurt Russell specifically and his son in that.
Alone.
And I love the Godzilla stuff. And the other thing I want to watch, I mentioned to you, was Godzilla -1, which is the Japanese Godzilla movie that's getting ridiculously good reviews right now. Might be got what?
Where can I watch that?
I think you can watch it on buy it on Apple.
Okay.
Because people have been posting about that. I'm saying it's the best Godzilla movie of all time. So next January could be a Godzilla month.
The Godzilla pod, yeah.
Godzilla pod. I love Godzilla, and I love that whole universe they created. But that was it. And then Invincible, which I know we talked about. I'll finish that before next month.
A couple things to put on your radar that are probably not on your radar at all. There's this new movie on Netflix. I think it just came out yesterday called Leave the World Behind. Have you heard about this?
Tell me more about it.
Ethan Hawke, Julia Roberts.
Yeah.
Mahershala Ali. I think I nailed that, actually, his name. And end of the world type stuff. Obviously a great cast. I have not read about the reviews. I think it's probably more middle of the road type reviews. But anytime Netflix throws these big stars together with that premise, something that I'm probably going to want to watch. Reminds me of Don't Look Up. Just good actors. End of the world stuff is, again, right up my alley. Apocalypse type stuff. So that's on my radar. I'll probably check that out. And have you heard of something called Rebel Moon? Have we talked about this?
I've heard that. Is it a video game or is it anime?
Not a video game, not an anime. It's a Zack Snyder movie.
Okay.
Zack Snyder, he has this like new sci-fi epic coming out on Netflix end of the month, very much modeled after like Dune, Star Wars, but it's his own thing. The trailer is freaking awesome. Part 1 comes out end of December. Part 2 comes out, I think, in April. Getting a lot of buzz. I'm seeing a lot on those YouTube channels that we watch, like New Rockstars, Emergency Awesome, some of the other ones, like starting to do previews where they pick apart the trailers and stuff like that. So take a look at it. I'll probably have watched that by the time we do our next pod, but looks pretty cool. So that's it for me, though, pal.
The only last thing I want to mention, because it is Christmas season, and there's this movie, I told you about this years ago, obviously all the Christmas classics out there right now, but there's this movie that we've watched this now for the last 3 or 4 years. It came out in 2020, so last 3 years. Have you seen Happiest Season on Hulu with Kristen Stewart?
No, never heard of it.
Okay, so the movie on Hulu is called Happiest Season with Kristen Stewart and the other girl is Mackenzie Davis, who's your girl from Station 11. She's in that, and a bunch that like you'll recognize this entire cast. It is a Christmas movie. Quick premise: Kristen Stewart and your girl from Station 11. They're in a same-sex relationship. Kristen Stewart wants to propose to her, going back to her girlfriend's place for Christmas. Her family does not know that she's a lesbian, does not know that Kristen Stewart's a lesbian, and they would not love to hear this. They have to keep this secret. It's a fantastic movie.
Is it funny? Is it like...
It's very, very funny, very awkward. Aubrey Plaza's in it. Dan Levy's in it. Alison Brie is in it. It's a great cast, and it is like a Christmas movie. It's a, like, I will get you in a Christmas spirit kind of movie. I very much enjoy it.
How have I never heard that? That's on Hulu.
It's on Hulu. Yeah, it's a Hulu movie that came out a few years ago.
I haven't heard that. That sounds like a good entire movie.
It's a great entire movie. It's kind of like awkward hijinks happen, and you have to keep this secret. But it's really good, and kind of at the end of it, definitely kind of hits the notes on all Christmas movies. So I want to give that a shout out.
Throw it on the list. Love it, dude. A lot of stuff to watch.
Yep.
So, all right, good month, pal. Anything else?
That's it, bud.
All right, let's wrap it up. We'll be doing our rehashables next in the beginning of January 2024.
2024.
Nuts, man. You know, I have other ideas for the pod moving forward, but we'll talk about another time. I need to do like a maybe year-end recap or something. I don't know. Maybe next year. But like doing the pod, it's already been 5, so it's fun to chat for a bit.
Yeah, it's awesome. You get a good excuse to keep watching stuff. It'll be a fun month ahead.
So, all right, pal. Talk to you soon.
All right, see ya.
See ya.